Spinifex State College.
I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Laura, and we're scientists at the Centenary Institute, and today we're going to take you through a heart dissection.
Today we'll be dissecting a lamb's heart. The average human heart is about the size of your two hands placed together, so our lamb's heart is a little bit smaller. The average human heart will beat 100,000 times in a day.
So there's a few things we can learn from our lamb's heart before we even cut it open. If you pick yours up, you might see some fat around the side, and this is called epicardial fat. And if you turn the heart and look from the top, you'll see the aorta. So the aorta is a really important vessel. All the blood leaving the heart goes out of the aorta to all the other arteries and parts of your body. So this is our left ventricle of the heart, and that's the main pumping chamber of the heart. If you can imagine that this left ventricle has got to pump all the blood to the very furthest vessels, all the way to your toes, to your fingertips, everywhere. On the other side is the right ventricle. So the right ventricle doesn't have to get the blood as far. It pumps blood to the lungs. So when we open it up, you'll be able to see the right ventricle wall is a little bit thinner than the left ventricle. So Caitlin's just going to cut open from the left ventricle so we can take a better look at what's inside.
Here we are in our left ventricle, and these white strands here are our chordae tendineae. So they're the strings that pull our valves open and shut in the heart.
The valves are really important because they make sure that blood flows in the one direction. And you actually have valves throughout your body and including in your veins, because we really want to make sure that oxygenated blood goes where it needs to go and we don't have any backflow.
So now I'm going to cut a little section out so we can see inside our left ventricle.
So inside, you might be able to see the chamber. So if you think of the left ventricle of a human, on average will hold about 100 ml of blood. We can measure how much blood is pumped out each and every beat with a machine called an echocardiogram. And it's just the same sort of ultrasound machine that we use to look at pregnant women when they're having a baby, but this time we look at the heart. And we measure what's called the ejection fraction, so the percentage of blood that goes out of the heart with each beat. And in a normal healthy person, that would be around 70% or 70 mils of blood. We never want all of the blood to go out because then that leaves the left ventricle empty, which isn't a good idea. So on this side, you can see our right ventricle, and you'll notice that the wall of the right ventricle is much thinner because the right ventricle only needs to pump blood to the lungs. So the distance from the heart to the lungs is not as far as the left ventricle needs to pump blood because it needs to get the blood all the way down to the toes. So in between our two ventricles is the septum. I'll show you on our trusty plastic model here. The septum's really important. You might have heard of people who have ventricular septal defects or VSDs, and that's when there's a hole in this septum, and it means that blood mixes from the right side and the left side. And the reasons that's bad is because on the left side of the heart we have oxygenated blood ready to go out to the body, and on the right side of the heart we have blood that needs to go to the lungs to collect its oxygen. In our lab here, we work on a condition called Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy, or increased growth of heart muscle disease, and it mainly affects the septum. So in a normal person, the septum will be 7 to 11 millimeters thick, but in someone with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it will be over 15 millimeters thick. And we have patients who have septums up to 40 millimeters thick. Now the main thing to know about this condition is it's not caused by anything anyone's done, but is a problem in their genes. And our research focuses on trying to find the gene faults that cause disease in these families.
So now we're going to talk about the three major vessels that come out of and lead into the heart. So on our heart here, we can see we've got our aorta, which is right here. But our butcher has chopped off the rest of the vessels, so we're going to go over to our model now. So over here, this red one, we have our aorta, and what it does is it pumps out oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Over here, we've got our superior vena cava, which takes deoxygenated blood from the body and brings it into the heart. On this side, this purple one here, we've got our pulmonary arteries. So what it does is it takes our blood from our right ventricle that's deoxygenated and takes it to our lungs so it can become oxygenated.
So again, looking from the top of our heart, we can see our filling chambers of the heart, or the atrium. Left side called the left atrium, and one on the right side called the right atrium. And these chambers fill, and then the blood moves from there through the valve on the left side, that's the mitral valve, into the left ventricle to be pumped out to the body. And similarly, on the right hand side, it moves from the right atrium to the right ventricle and then pumped out of the body. Outside of the heart, you can see one of our main coronary arteries, or I might bring our trusty model back into play. So these are the arteries that supply the heart muscle with oxygenated blood so it can keep pumping throughout the day. And these are the arteries that get blocked in common heart disease. We know that 1 in 3 Australians are affected by coronary artery disease, so it's really important to do things like exercise regularly, have our cholesterol checked, and eat healthy diets so that we don't clog up our coronaries.
Thanks for watching today, guys. We hope that you learnt something about the heart and the different functions of the heart.
Thanks so much for getting on board with Suit Up for Science. We really appreciate all the funds that you've raised and helping us to raise awareness of heart disease in our community.
Bye!
Bye!